Yo YouTube, what's up? I'm Tim. This is a kashkellyandac Sports Report. The Heat finished off the Celtics last night, and that has raised a ton of questions at this point. Will Doc Rivers be back next year? I don't know. I would tend to think he would because I think he's staying to win another ring. But some signs are pointing that might take a while, and by a while, I do mean through another regime. But let's go through a few things. I mean, people are saying you're going to have to break up this core to continue to stay at this level. Because if you look at things, I mean, obviously, Rajon Rondo's 25 years old. Kevin Garnett's 34. Ray Allen's 35, although I've been told Ray Allen's probably the best conditioned player in the NBA. That being said, if you look at his points per game, they've dropped the last few years. And a lot of that is just because he's playing on a better team. But it also has to do with the fact that he's getting older. I mean, his shooting percentage is right in line, so I do not believe... Actually, his numbers this year, he had a great season this year. I mean, his shooting or his field goal percentage was a career high this year. His three-point percentage was a career high this year. So, I mean, he had a tremendous season this year. The guy that I look at is Paul Pierce. I do. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's making a ton of money. But unlike KG, who's starting to show signs of, I don't know how to phrase this exactly, because he's not like going down. His field goal percentage since he's joined the Celtics has been up each year, and I mean it went back up this year from last year. But if you've noticed, since he's been there, the most games he's played is 71 games. Twice. In his first season there in 07 and 08. And his this season with 71 games. In 09 and 010 he played 69 games, no pun intended. In 08-09 he played 57 games. I mean, all these years the stats have seemed pretty fair. I mean, 07-08 he had 18.8 points, and you gotta find out how many rebounds he had. He had about 19.2 rebounds. I mean, he took somewhat of a stat dip from being the 2010 guy, but the bottom line is if you join up with Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo and Ray Allen, that's going to happen. But if you go to the season after that, we're looking at 15.8 points per game, and rebound-wise, 8.5. And then if you go to the season after that, we're looking at 14.3 points per game, 6.2 rebounds. This season he went back up a little bit, but still not really anywhere near the 2010 level. 14.9 points per game with 8.9 rebounds. The reason I believe that you cannot trade him is because teams are going to look at things like that. And scouts are going to say, you know what, this guy is starting to show some signs of decline. That and the fact that the Celtics cannot get rid of another big body after trading Kendrick Perkins. That's just not how it works. So small forward Paul Pierce seems to make the most sense. He's a guy that's the youngest out of the big three. I mean, obviously, I would consider it a big four with Rondo, but he's 25, you're not going to trade him. Paul Pierce is 33 years old. He's from the West Coast. This team needs a big man. And who's the big man out on the West Coast that people are talking about? Andrew Bynum. Now, I don't know exactly how you would get a trade done like that, and I know the Lakers would not just do Pierce for Andrew Bynum straight up. But I believe the Celtics should go after a big man. They should use Paul Pierce as one of their main chips. I think the biggest issue is, however, who else are they going to trade along with Paul Pierce? I mean, you traded away Kendrick Perkins, who would have been a nice piece to add in there. And Jeff Green, don't get me wrong, Jeff Green was the number 5 pick in the draft, not by accident. He's not a great player, but I mean, he averaged 15.2 points per game with the Thunder, then he got traded to Boston and he averaged 9.8. A lot of that had to do with lost shots. I believe one of these three guys will probably not be here next year. That's my gut feeling. So I think he will get more shots, and I think when you talk about Paul Pierce, if you can keep Jeff Green in lineup, he's a bigger body, height-wise at least. Not by much, but by 2 inches. Paul Pierce obviously a small forward, and Jeff Green, I guess you would call him a power forward. I look at him as more of the swingman type. But I think that the bottom line here is the Celtics got to move on from one of these guys. And I think what they got to look at is the fact that their big advantage early in the season over the Heat and really over the Bulls, if you're able to add another big man in there, would be having two big men. And I think that Paul Pierce, his numbers are going to begin to go down. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to have a terrible season, but I think that the bottom line, hey, I mean, if the Celtics want to continue to contend, it wouldn't be stupid for them to start. I make it sound like they got to move on from one of these guys this year, and if things don't work out, maybe you got to move on from KG next year. I don't know. I mean, Ray Allen doesn't seem to draw too much interest free agent or trade-wise to me, or at least not to the point where you could get what his value is. I guess that's how you would phrase it. I think that Paul Pierce really shows up as the guy. He's a West Coast guy, grew up a big Lakers fan. I mean, they hate him down there. But then again, if you were playing on their team, how hard is it to do a 360 and love the guy? That's the way I look at it. I mean, there's other pieces the Lakers have too. Maybe you go after Pau Gasol with Paul Pierce. That could make sense. I mean, again, you're going to have to add another piece with Paul Pierce, and that's the issue. I mean, it isn't like in the NFL where you can just add a first-round pick on and say, oh, well, I mean, that's basically another good player. I mean, besides the number one pick, I mean, 3 out of 5 years the number one pick doesn't even seem to matter that much. But besides the number one pick, what pick do you really look at and say, we're going to be able to get a good player there? There's no way in hell. And, I mean, it's really fringe with the draft lottery system and everything going on. But as it stands here, this is what I'm getting to in this entire video. If this team stays constructed the same, and I mean, there's probably going to be a strike next season, which probably is even worse for the Celtics. Their championship days are over. That's how I look at it. I'm Tim. I'll see you guys later.